All right, we are live. And what are we talking about? We're talking about this VC firm called Steel Atlas. The last one was Rainmaker, and Rainmaker's founder Augustus, his friend is Isaiah, who is the founder of Whaler Atomics, and Steel Atlas invested in Whaler Atomics. And similar, they don't have many investments, but they have very similar thesis around industrial focused software and hardware. So let's look into this. They got a beautiful website. Seems like it's a small fund. They have NYC's premier industrials focused venture fund. Seems like a small fund, very focused. So let's see what it's all about. They also have pretty interesting blogs over here. Very cool. Steel Atlas makes concentrated investments in industrial focused software and hardware. Grounded in research, the partnership selects 10 companies per fund. Steel Atlas is supported by a global network of industrial conglomerates. Tell me all about, oh, Steel Atlas VC. Venture focus on investing in industrial technologies, particularly those that enhance economic resilience across critical sectors. The firm was co-founded by general partners Cameron Porter and Talal Attia, who bring complementary expertise to the table. Street Atlas targets early stage companies, both software and hardware, that address volatility in industries such as energy, infrastructure, supply chains, advanced manufacturing, the built environment, construction, and national security. Their investment strategy is research-driven, aiming to identify and support technologies that solve significant industrial challenges. Street Atlas takes a concentrated approach, selecting approximately 10 companies per fund. This allows them to deeply engage with their portfolio companies, leveraging a global network of industrial conglomerates to help these startups commercialize their innovations. This is interesting. They know that they can focus on the network, and if they pick the right founders who are really dedicated, who have picked the right industries, they can now leverage this entire network to 10x this opportunity. I think this is the most important thing right now, where capital has become really cheap. The focus is not about just the capital, that who can give me money, or it's not just about getting the money, it's also about who do you want to get money from, and what expertise beyond just capital, what benefits beyond just the capital they bring to the table. A key aspect of the model is connecting US based companies with opportunities in the Middle East, particularly Saudi Arabia, where they have strong ties through Talal Attia's family legacy in the steel industry. Very interesting. Very interesting. Tell me more. So we go in directly. Let's go. Family legacy in steel industry is rooted in Atiyah Group, a prominent industrial conglomerate based in Saudi Arabia. Founded by Talal's grandfather, Ahmed bin Abdul Aziz Atiyah in 58, initially as a small trading operation in Jeddah focused on steel and construction materials. Over the decades, it grew into one of the largest steel distributors and manufacturers in the Middle East, becoming a cornerstone of Saudi Arabia's industrial development, particularly during the kingdom's rapid modernization and infrastructure boom in the late 20th century. Under Ahmed Attiya's leadership and later that of his sons, the company expanded its scope beyond trading to include steel processing, manufacturing, and distribution. By 80s and 90s, the Attiya Group, this story sounds very similar to Tata Group in India. The Attiya Group had established itself as a key supplier of major construction projects tied to Saudi Arabia's oil wealth and urbanization, such as bridges, highways, and industrial facilities. The firm capitalized on the region's growing demand for steel, driven by the construction of cities like Riyadh and the expansion of oil infrastructure. The group diversified into related sectors, including building materials, heavy machinery, and logistics, while maintaining steel as its core business. It forged partnerships with global steel producers such as Japan's Nippon Steel and Europe's ArcelorMittal. Again, I was thinking on ArcelorMittal as well, to import high quality materials and later invested in local production capabilities. Today, the group operates multiple subsidiaries, including Atia Steel, which remains a leading steel service center in the Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC) region. scale and influence, employs thousands and has a vast network of warehouses, factories, and distribution channels across the Middle East. Its steel division alone handles millions of tons of steel annually, serving industries ranging from construction and oil, gas to manufacturing. The family's successes in navigating Saudi Arabia's economic shifts, especially the Vision 2030 diversification away from oil, has solidified their reputation as industrial pioneers. Third generation member of the family grew up immersed in his legacy while he pursued his own path in the US, studying economics at USC and building a career in venture capital. His family's industrial expertise and networks deeply inform his work at Steel Atlas. The Atia Group's relationships with Saudi conglomerates and government entities provide Talal with unique access to the Middle Eastern market, particularly in the kingdom's push for technological innovation and economic resilience under Vision 2030. Strategic edge: connect US-based portfolio companies with industrial giants in the Gulf, such as Saudi Aramco or SABIC, for partnerships and commercialization. Industrial know-how and regional influence. Very interesting. Okay, Cameron Porter, co-founder and general partner, leads research and technical underwriting. He worked at Ali Corp, prominent venture studio, where he contributed to scaling it into a 500 million plus fund as one of its earliest team members. He has a background in computer science from Princeton and was a professional soccer player in Major League Soccer, while also working as an engineer for the league. Wow. Computer science, Princeton, professional soccer player, Major League Soccer, while also working as an engineer for the league. He worked at Ali Corp, contributed to scaling it into a 500 million plus fund. Hmm. Co-founder and general partner. Atia has extensive experience in the industrial technology investments, having run the venture arm of a multi-billion-dollar advisory firm in Los Angeles. He specializes in post-investment partnerships, linking portfolio companies with major conglomerates in Saudi Arabia through his steel network. He studied economics at USC. Expertise in clean energy, Alex. Resilience from his time at lower carbon capital, other professions with deep industrial and technical backgrounds. Invest in technologies that mitigate economic fragility and volatility, which they see as exacerbated by globalization and decades of efficiency focused systems. Examples of their portfolio include automated structural engineering systems, alternative to lithium ion batteries, fission and fusion reactors, nuclear infrastructure, Transmutex, 23.2 million Series A investment co-led with USV. Wow. Supply chain resilience and energy transition. Recent investments include Genlog's 14.6 and Transmutex, showcasing their commitment to cutting-edge industrial innovation. Steel Atlas raised its first fund of 10 million announced in August 24 with a mission to bridge US technology with Saudi Arabian investors and business opportunities. The firm emphasizes post-investment support, partnering with portfolio companies to scale through exclusive industrial networks, particularly in the Gulf region. Draws an analogy to the 1901 spindle-top oil gusher, suggesting we are now in an era of data gushers, untapped information streams that AI and sensing tech can turn into value. They see industrial volatility as both a challenge and an opportunity driven by factors like climate awareness and national security. Steel Atlas aims to back founders building resilient large-scale businesses in this context, positioning itself as a strategic atlas guiding industrial tech into the future. In short, Steel Atlas is a specialized VC firm with a clear niche, early stage industrial tech that tackles big systemic problems. NYC based Middle East connections, research driven approach set it apart in the venture landscape. Amazing. Okay, now we go to Steel Atlas. Investing in resilience, consider investment in industrial focused software and hardware grounded in research. Partnership selects 10 companies per fund, supported by a global network of industrial conglomerates. We did atomics, we did it, lower cost, carbon neutral fuels, Transmutex, clean base load power, Genlogs, AI-enabled supply chain visibility. Group 1, critical mineral-free battery, so free from lithium. And we have Hedril, AI-enabled structural engineering. These are all the memos. They say they are grounded in research. So which one do we want to tap into? Data Gushers, a framework for finding the new oil. Data. The hydrogen investment blind spot. Why failurize waste now? Venture opportunities in critical mineral volatility. Special shout out to Kerry Rodby, PhD. The triad, our general framework for investing in the tailwinds of public-private partnerships, a tale of two countries and the new nuclear future, the resilience matrix. What does the lock mean? Oh, this post is for subscribers on the Steel Atlas and Steel Atlas exclusive tiers only. So they're also making money from content. Okay. There's a resilience matrix, investing in a supply chain resilience platform. I think this is also interesting because people who would be, they do deep research, and people who would be interested, people who would actually subscribe, now they know who these people are who are just super interested into this content, and they could potentially be like, okay, who are you? And are you in this industry or are you just curious? And that's like a higher signal to connect with these individuals. That's interesting. Lessons working for Kevin Ryan, the godfather of NYC tech. Building resilience in a multipolar world, portfolio construction with Earth shorts and Moon shorts. Okay, I think this is the most interesting one. Let's see. Lessons from working for Kevin Ryan, the godfather. Who's Kevin Ryan? Prominent American entrepreneur, investor, widely recognized as the godfather of NYC Tech for his pivotal role in shaping the tech ecosystem. Born in 63, has built a career marked by founding and scaling some of the most influential internet-based companies, particularly in New York, while also fostering a thriving startup community through his venture capital firm, Alley Corp. Oh, okay. And Cameron Porter directly worked for Alley Corp. Began after earning BA from Yale University and MBA from INSEAD. Early in his career, he worked at United Media, where he launched the Dilbert website, and experience that sparked his interest in the internet's potential. He later joined DoubleClick, Google. 96 initially as president and then as CEO. Under his leadership, DoubleClick grew from 20% startup into a global leader in online advertising, employing 1,500 people. The company went public in 98 and was sold to Google in 2007. Wow, almost 10 years later, for 3.1 billion, cementing Ryan's reputation as a tech visionary. Founding Alley Corp and Major Ventures. In 2007, Ryan co-founded Alley Corp with Dwight Merriman, a former DoubleClick colleague. Alley Corp started as a network of affiliated companies and evolved into a venture capital firm and incubator that both founds and invests in early stage businesses with a focus on New York City. Through Alley Corp, Ryan has been instrumental in launching several high-profile companies. MongoDB, whoa, Zola, Business Insider. Oh shit, this is so I saw this. I saw Sam Parr's photo. I read Business Insider, and I totally get this now. Yeah, he talked about this on the pod. That's right. I remember that. I remember that. That was an interesting conversation. I clearly remember the place where I was when I was listening to that podcast. I was at a beautiful restaurant where I was eating, and I had this podcast on, and I clearly remember the place where I listened to this podcast. Wow, that's so cool. Sueli Corbrian has been instrumental in launching several high-profile companies. MongoDB, co-founded in 2007 as Tenjin, this open source database company went public in 2017, and as of 25, boasts a market cap exceeding 25 billion. Business Insider launched in 2009 with Henry Blodgett. It became a leading digital media outlet and was acquired by Axel Springer SE for 442 million. Launched in 2009. Alicorp started as a network of affiliate companies involved into venture capital firm and incubator that both founds and invest in early stage businesses. Right. I remember him talking about how they are constantly doing research. I think at that time he was talking about a lot of medical stuff that they were working on. This is so interesting. Wow. Co-founded in 2007 as Tengen, launched in 2009 with Henry, became a leading digital media outlet and was acquired by Axel Springer for 442 million. Guild Group, founded in 2007, luxury e-commerce platform secured over 240 million in funding before being sold to Hudson's Bay Company in 2016 for 250 million. Zola, a wedding planning and registry platform started in 2013, which has grown into a significant player in the consumer tech space. Ryan has also co-founded companies like Nomad Health, Pearl Health, and Transcend Therapeutics. I clearly remember him talking about health. I forgot what innovation he was talking about back then. Was it cancer? I don't know. But I remember him talking about the fact that how he would do a lot of research. Like he has a team that's constantly researching new products to bring to market, spanning healthcare and mental health innovation. Collectively, these ventures have raised over 2 billion venture capital and employed thousands, contributing significantly to NYC's tech employment landscape. Stems from his outsized influence on the city's transformation from a tech backwater into a global venture capital hub. When he started with DoubleClick in the 90s, Silicon Valley dominated the tech scene and New York lagged behind. Ryan saw the potential in NYC's talent pool, drawing from Ivy League graduates and a diverse workforce, and its proximity to industries like finance, media, and fashion. His successes with DoubleClick and subsequent ventures helped put NYC on the map as a tech powerhouse. By 25, New York employs as many tech workers as San Francisco, a shift Ryan predicted and helped drive. Wow. Wow. Through Ali Corp, Ryan has continued to nurture startups, raising a 250 million fund in 24 that marked its first time accepting external investors. His approach emphasizes building companies from scratch, often focusing on untapped sectors like robotics, healthcare, and social impact tech, rather than just investing broadly. Robotics, healthcare, and social impact tech. Beyond entrepreneurship, Ryan is a civic leader in New York. He served on boards like Tech NYC as a founding member and policy committee chair, the Partnership for New York City vice chairman, and Yale Corporation. He's also advised state commissions under Governor Cuomo and consulted with Mayor Bill de Blasio on tech development. Philanthropically, he and his wife support causes like University of the People, the Marshall Project, and Yale Program for Psychedelic Science. I think he talked about psychedelics as well. Why the Godfather? The moniker, first popularized by Fortune magazine in 2014, reflects Ryan's role as a mentor, founder, and connector in NYC's tech scene. His ability to spot trends like the internet's rise in the 90s or robotics potential in the 2020s, combined with his track record of building unicorns, companies valued at 1 billion or more, has made him a revered figure. In 2013, The Observer named him one of the 100 most influential New Yorkers of the past 25 years. And his understated yet impactful style keeps him under the radar despite his achievements. Remains a driving force in tech, continuing to shape NYC's future through AliCorp and his relentless pursuit of innovative scalable ideas. Well, so many things to dive deep into. AliCorp portfolio. Let's see. Founded by Kevin Ryan, 2007. Diverse range of sectors, including enterprise and consumer tech. Dual approach, incubating its own startups, investing in external ones, has resulted in a robust lineup of companies, many of which have achieved significant milestones. Right. He also talked about building the right team, not only finding the idea, but also building the right team and then letting them go out of the incubator. Unicorn status, valuations exceeding 1 billion IPOs or acquisitions. MongoDB, co-founded by Ali Corb in 2007 as 10gen, the leading open source database platform, went public in 2017. As of 2025, has a market cap exceeding 25 billion, making it one of Ali Corp's most successful ventures. Business Insider Media Consumer Tech acquired. Launched in 2009 with Henry, digital media powerhouse was sold to Axel Springer, 442, remains a prominent name in business journalism. Guild Group Luxury Goods, flash sales for luxury fashion reached over 240 million before being sold to Hudson's Bay Company. Hudson's Bay is Canadian, right? Yes. Historic retail corporation with roots dating back to 1670, making one of the oldest companies in the world still in operation. For trading business in what is now Canada. Diversified retail and real estate entity with a significant presence in North America. HBC was founded on May 2, 1670, when King Charles II of England granted a royal charter to the governor and Company of Adventurers of England trading into Hudson's Bay. The charter gave King Charles II of England granted a royal charter to the governor and Company of Adventurers of England trading into Hudson's Bay. The charter gave HBC a monopoly over trade, primarily furs, in the vast region known as Rupert's Land, encompassing the Hudson Bay watershed about 1.5 million square miles. Early operations relied on trading posts where European goods like blankets and metal tools were exchanged with indigenous people for beaver pelts and other furs, fueling the European fashion industry. Dominant force in North American trade and colonization, shaping Canada's economic and territorial development. Established forts and trading networks, competed fiercely with rivals like the Northwest Company, merging with it in 1821, and played a quasi-governmental role in Rupert's Land until 1870, when it sold the territory to the newly formed Dominion of Canada for 300,000, about 1.5 million today. As the fur trade declined, pivoted to general merchandise, opening its first department store, leveraged its trading post to sell goods to settlers, and expanded into urban retail. Iconic banners like the Hudson's Bay, often called the Bay Merged, offering everything from clothing to household items. The shift laid the foundation for HBC's modern identity as a retailer. Holding company with portfolio of retail brands and real estate assets. Evolution accelerated in the 20th and 21st century through acquisitions and strategic moves. Wait, this is really cool. So Guild Group was sold to Hudson's Bay. That's the connection with Kevin Ryan. Oh, what? Key retail brands: Hudson's Bay, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Guild Group. Wow. Everything from clothing to household items, the shift laid the foundation for HBC's modern identity as a retailer, primarily as a holding company with portfolio retail brands and real estate assets. Canada's oldest department store chain with 85 locations. Signature stripped point blankets and upscale offerings. Saks Fifth Avenue, acquired in 2013 for 2.9 billion. The luxury US retailer operates 39 full-line stores and 72 Saks off Fifth discount outlets. Lord and Taylor, bought in 2008 as part of 1.1 billion deal. It was sold off in 2019 to Letut for 100 million and amid declining performance. Purchased 2016 from Alicorp's portfolio, integrating its flash sale e-commerce platform. Though later divested. Okay. Valuable properties through its HBC properties and investment divisions, including store locations and development sites. 2021, it spun off Saks.com into a separate entity, retaining a minority stake, valuing the online business at 2 billion. Okay. This is very interesting so far. We're just doing a quick position change. Support our back. HPC's ownership has shifted multiple times, public to private. Publicly traded on the TSX until 2006, when US billionaire Jerry Zucker took it private for 1.1 billion. NRDC acquisition in 2008 NRDC Equity Partners, led by Richard Baker, acquired HVC for 1.7 billion, merging it with US retail assets like Lord& Taylor. Private again. 2019, a consortium led by Baker, now HVC's governor and executive chairman. Okay, so it was publicly traded. US billionaire took it private. Then, okay, Richard Baker acquired for 1.7 billion, merging with Lord& Taylor. Okay, 2019, consortium led by Baker took it private again for 1.9 billion, delisting it from TSX in 2020 amid retail struggles. Controlled by a group of investors, including Baker, with a focus on streamlining operations and leveraging real estate. Historically around 9 to 10 billion annually, though recent data is less public since going private. Saks and Hudson's Bay remain its revenue drivers. European operations like Galleria, Kaufhof sold in 2019. Face pressure from e-commerce giants Amazon and shifting consumer habits. 2020 privatization was partly a response to declining sales and debt burdens, peaking at 3.5. Saks split. Separating Saks allowed them to unlock value in its luxury digital arm, backed by 500 million investment from inside partners. The Guild Group purchase aimed to bolster e-commerce, though it struggled to integrate fully. Very interesting. Okay. What are the other portfolio companies of Kevin Ryan? You got Zola, wedding planning, leading wedding registry and planning platform. It has raised significant funding and remains a standout in their tech portfolio. Nomad Health, connect healthcare professionals with job opportunities. Nomad Health exemplifies their focus on healthcare innovation. Maven Clinic, I think I've heard of that. Unicorn status 1 billion. Security scorecard. Okay. Cybersecurity. Reddit. Investment portfolio. Okay. Spring e-commerce. Unicorn. Spring is among the 7 unicorns in their portfolio. Okay. Chamber Cardio raised 8 million in 2024 seed round led by General Catalyst. Rogo FinTech 7 million 24 seed round. Vicarious Cybersecurity AI. AI powered vulnerability remediation platform raised 30 million 2024 Series B. Glacier Robotics Recycling. Robotics for recycling. Okay. 7.7 24 seed round. BART FinTech. 7 unicorns, pre-seed seed Series A, often as the first investor with location Series B, Vicarious. I'll quickly look into what Sampar said. There's a ratio of does Epic shit while being under the radar. This guy would be at the top. Founded, Business Insider, MongoDB, Guild. Guild was not actually founded. Zola, bunch of others. Launched dozens of companies a year. We talked all about how he comes up with ideas, how he researches them the first 6 to 12 months, and then he runs them. I cold emailed in 2016 like 50 times. I built my career based on what he's done. I admire him a ton. He let me do a 30-minute meeting with him, plus a few calls that were hugely impactful. He's an actual legend, deep operation experience with DoubleClick, incredible system for ideation, and has never let his priority for family fall by the wayside. Very interesting. All right, lessons learned by Steel Atlas, Kevin Ryan, MongoDB, Business Insider, DoubleClick, 1 billion plus in capital raised by startups. One of, if not the top venture studio in the world. top venture studio in the world, right? This is also interesting. Like most of the venture studios, they are not really successful, but it's because it's very hard. You are kind of always in, you have diversified so much that you are not really focused on one idea. So this is very interesting. As LPs and friends of the fund, it is important for you to understand how we think about investing and growing early stage startups as well. With that, there is no individual that has influenced my thinking than Kevin. So we've written a 7+ page memo on Kevin Ryan's perspective on three pillars of company building: ideation, hiring, and fundraising. We hope this memo serves as a window into the mind of one of the best. For context, after Cameron played professional soccer in MLS, the same league as Messi, he joined Ellie Corp. Where does this link take us to? Oh, we have it here. Montreal. Is that Cameron? Cameron Porter. Stade Olympique. Tout ensemble, droit devant. Wow, really cool. Really cool. Atlanta, Austin, Charlotte, Chicago, Cincinnati, Colorado, Columbus, Dallas, DC United, Houston, LAFC, Miami, Minnesota, Montreal, Nashville, New England, New York City, Red Bulls, Orlando, Philadelphia, Portland, Salt Lake, San Diego, San Jose, Seattle, Toronto, Vancouver, Vancouver, let's go. Whitecaps FC look to maintain perfect MLS record. All right, perfect. Let's go back. What do we have? Really cool. Cameron Porter is the perfect. I mean, we don't know if MLS would ever remove that video. We should rather just like plug that one goal right over here. He joined Ali Corp as a team of four sitting out of MongoDB's office. He joined Ali Corp as a team of four sitting out of MongoDB's office. Kevin was not only his boss, but a mentor as well. Beyond his immense professional success, Kevin is a kind, generous, and fun-loving individual. Another piece could and deserves to be written on all he has done to support me and those lucky enough to cross his path in life. Thank you, as always, Kevin. Often called the Godfather in YC Tech, Kevin is a co-founder of MongoDB, Business Insider, Guild, Zola, Nomad Health. He founds new companies with Ali Corp every year. Earlier in his career, Kevin helped to grow DoubleClick first as president and then as CEO, leading the growth from a 20% startup to a publicly traded global leader with over 1,500 employees through IPO in 98 and acquisition by Google in 2007. The companies Kevin has founded employ thousands of people and have raised well over 1 billion in venture capital along the way. We believe this gives his advice on ideation, hiring, and fundraising ample credibility. Despite his track record, the internet has let Kevin's thinking on ideation, hiring, and fundraising be buried in siloed interviews. We believe this is a disservice to us all in the entrepreneurial tech community that this piece intends to remedy. Below are a few of our favorite pieces of wisdom. Ideation. Good ideas are all around you. I'm always thinking of problems. What is too expensive, hard to get, or inaccessible? Good ideas are all around you. I'm always thinking about problems. What is too expensive, hard to get, or inaccessible? If you have a task that takes you more than 3 minutes to do online, then there is an opportunity to start a business. If you have a task that takes you more than 3 minutes to do online, then there is an opportunity to start a business. When you see a market where people are making 40% profit margins, you have to think there is probably a better way. Whenever you have a question you want answered and don't know the site that will answer it, that is a company idea. If a task takes more than 3 minutes to do online, there's an opportunity to start a business. If you see a market where people are making 40% plus profit margins, you have to think there's probably a better way. Whenever you have a question you want to answer and you don't know the site that will answer it, there is a company idea. Anytime you see an area that is 50 to $100 billion in purchases and there is not one site where you can figure out what you want to buy. Anytime you see an area that is 50 to $100 billion in purchases and there is not one site where you can figure out what you want to buy, especially in the B2B space, and there that is where you want to launch a company. Focus on ideas supported by large tailwinds. Focus on ideas supported by large tailwinds. We like to make sure there is an obvious fundamental trend that can back us up for the next 5 to 10 years. Because when starting companies, we go with the assumption that we will be owning them 10 to 15 years later. Focus on ideas supported by large tailwinds. We like to make sure there is an obvious fundamental trend that can back us up for the next 5 to 10 years. Because when starting companies, we go with the assumption that we will be owning them 10 to 15 years later. You don't need to be an expert to have good ideas. Entire industries are being replaced by people outside the industry. Most of the best internet ideas come from people who don't have a background in what they are doing. Big market plus no constraints. It has to be a big market, so it's interesting enough. It has to feel like there's a $1 billion opportunity there. You are not always going to get there, but if it works, it's that big. Is there a clear vision of the product that can be built? Is there a constraint? Is there some reason you can't build this? Is there a clear vision of the product that can be built? Is there a constraint? Is there some reason you can't build this? There is always competition. Anytime I start an idea, including guild, if it's any good at all, there are 20 people doing the same thing. Don't focus on the financial models. I never put together a financial model, even though I'm a former CFO. I really have to just understand the consumer, whether that's a B2B or a consumer. I just have to understand what's going through that person's mind, what are the challenges, what are the problems. So it really involves a lot of interviews of people. Know when to discount feedback. I threw the idea out to a couple of people, and some thought there were structural reasons why it would not work here, saying that France is a different market. And I just thought, no, I think they're wrong. I think it's going to work. Know when to discount feedback. I threw the idea to a I threw the idea out to a couple of people, and some thought there were structural reasons why it would not work here, saying that France is a difficult market. And I just thought, no, I think they're wrong, and I think it's going to work. What is this one talking about? Mm, that makes sense. It's about guilt, the luxury, fashion. And for some reason, they're saying that France wouldn't adopt uh, because they were mainly focused on flash sales. So people said that flash sales of luxury items won't work in France. Got an economics degree and an MBA, did a stint on Wall Street, spent some time at Disney. He realized in the early years of his career that he would rather be in a small company and have more responsibility than be a cog in the machine of a larger one. With more than 2 decades of management, entrepreneurship, and tech tycoon status under his belt, he jokes that by now I'm completely unmanageable. I have to be an entrepreneur for the rest of my life because I can easily work for anyone. Became a tech leader and outruns the competition. Fun fact, don't laugh, but I play competitive ping pong. We're setting up a tournament now, which I'm going to start training for. I was the double click ping pong champion for many years. You're a serial entrepreneur in the tech arena. What first drew you to tech? It was somewhat accidental because I was working for a large media company, Scripps in 95. We sold comics, columns, crossword puzzles to newspapers. We thought, how could we expand our business? I thought there's only one newspaper in every town, but there's a concept called the internet. And maybe if we put everything on there, which sounds so obvious now, that people everywhere would love Dilbert and Peanuts. So we set up a website, and the Dilbert website, through a little bit of skill and a little bit of luck, became one of the most successful websites in 95. It was profitable, ad supported, and commerce enabled. And was one of the top 10 websites. So in the beginning of 96, I thought this thing, the internet, is going to be one of the most fundamental trends in my lifetime. I went to the parent company and said, you should give me a couple $1 million and I'll build up an internet business. They said, I don't know, it's risky, might cannibalize our current business. I said, forget it. I'm going to start a company then because this is really big. And that's how I really full time got into it. Hmm. You should give me a couple $1 million and I'll build up an internet business. I don't know, it's risky. It might cannibalize our current business. Forget it. I'm going to start a company then because this is really big. And that's how I really full time got into it. I went out and I was going to start DoubleClick. As part of this process, I came across a company called DoubleClick that had 20 people and had developed a really great piece of technology. And I realized I didn't know that much about technology as these two engineers who had this dynamic ad serving thing. And I thought, wow, that is really important, really cool. I didn't think of that. So instead of starting on my own, I decided to join them. And then I became president, and then I became CEO. We started with 0 people, and 4 years later, we had 2025 different countries, and we had gone public and made 4 acquisitions. It was crazy and incredibly fun. What about your startup ideas? And there have been a few were game changing. You have ideas within the company that end up being very important. And then there's the idea of a new company. So Guild has worked really well. We started 4 years ago. Now we are up to 800 employees and $500 million revenue. So it's really taken off. And it's exciting to see the passion the consumers have for it. I feel really great about Business Insider. We have 12 million uniques, and I came up with that idea 4 years ago. It's a pure example of execution. Most people think that for startups, you have to have the best idea ever, one brilliant idea. It turns out actually that most entrepreneurs don't have a brilliant idea. You're going to start an ad agency or restaurant. Is the idea that great? If you open a restaurant across the street and it's great, everyone will go eat there. And you will be really successful without a great idea because it's great execution. Anytime I've started an idea, including Guild, if it's any good at all, there are 20 people doing the same thing. DoubleClick had 35 competitors after a year and a half of being in business. It's all about doing it really well. In Guild, we are not even the first person to launch flash sales. Ideally, was there 2 months before us, yet we became much bigger and faster because the product is better. Tension is the only one that people don't really know about, and it's going to be very valuable and game changing in parts of the technology. Tens of thousands of companies have downloaded the database and are using it right now. Wait, what? 2011. So he's talking about MongoDB. What about your startup ideas? This one we did. In what ways are your companies symbiotic? They're not. In the beginning, we started 6 companies about 3 years, and we shared office space. There were about 20 people working for each company, each with its own CEO, and I was a chairman. There were 10 people who did finances for everyone, and they were all independent companies from a financing point of view with different investors, but they shared a back office, which made it much easier. If we started a new company, we would already have payroll and finances set up, so you would just focus on the actual business. Hire the engineers, build the product, focus on the core. But guilt got to be very big very quickly. We had six businesses, and I thought a lot of them wouldn't work because most companies don't work. Turns out a lot more of them work than I had planned. I couldn't have 12 of these and still play the same role. So two decisions were made. I wouldn't start any new companies, and I would focus as much of my time as possible on Guild. I sold off Panther Express and Shop Wiki, went off the board of Music Nation, and I became CEO of Guild and chairman of Business Insider Intention. I spent 90% of my time on Guild, and I'm an outside board member of the other two. So I spend 2 hours a week on each of those, hiring senior people, raising money, and strategy conversations. What have you learned from launching all these businesses? There's still just great opportunity on the internet in so many different areas. One of the interesting things about my companies is that they are completely unrelated. Super technical company, e-commerce, consumer company, and a media company. Not to mention a search function for shopping and technology infrastructure. It's all about people. Your concept's not worth that much, but if you can get a great team, then you will be successful. So that's what I do all day long. I hire. I'm interviewing people all day long and retaining, making sure that our good people stay and are in the right spots. When you're starting a company, what's your vision of success? You start by focusing on the consumer or the client if it's B2B. I don't think about exits or profits. I think that I need to create a product that people really want. If that works and people are buying it, then over time, each year, you spend a little time tweaking the business model, optimizing it. Year two, you think a little about that. It's not winner takes all, but it's not far off. Who's the number two player to eBay, to Amazon, to Google? That's why I'm always pushing as hard as possible to be that number one player. You get all the PR, which is self-reinforcing. No one writes about number two. People want to work for the leaders, so do vendors and investors. It's about being there and going really aggressively in the beginning. I always end up raising more money than my competitors, spending more, hiring more people, and hiring them faster to make sure that we win. How do you raise so much money? There's no question that it helps when you are raising money if you have a track record. It's a safer investment for people. All these businesses are risky and they know they're betting on people. They want to know that you are someone who can hire and make decisions, and then the rest of it is the team. When I put the team together, I think about that. They've got to be good because that's the value of the company. You don't have anything else. Whereas an entrepreneur is supposed to find top talent. In the very beginning, you are not even using search firms because you don't have the money to do that. You're going out and finding people yourself. If an entrepreneur comes to me and says they can't find a person or can convince people to join, I would say, unfortunately, that's the job. If a salesperson can't sell, then you can be successful. If you can't convince people to join you, you shouldn't be doing this business because it's very hard. Think of all the people you know, the friends you have. Let's say one of them suggests that you quit your job and join him in a startup. You'd be thinking, do I really want to work for this guy? Think about it. Who would you do that for? You need someone who's smart, charismatic, successful. A lot is just about that person, and a big part of the skill is inspiring people. What makes someone a great entrepreneur? You're going to have a high level of passion, a high level of energy. You need to be pretty smart because you need people to follow you. Every day, people are going to think, do I want to keep working here or do I want to work somewhere else? Everyone here can work somewhere else like that. They have to feel like what they are doing is going to be successful. They have to like the environment and think it's good for them. And a lot of that comes from the top. You need to inspire that feeling among employees. When you run startup companies, things go wrong every day. That's what I do all day. You want to be moving really quickly because speed is essential. I find so much about business is really just about judgment. You're faced with suboptimal choices all the time, and you just have to make a judgment call. You're pretty involved in philanthropy. Why is that important to you? You need to be doing what you want to do and like to do, and it has to be a balance. If you want to be CEO, you can't spend all your time or you can't spend all of your outside time on philanthropy. I think not only is it a great thing to do, but I find it good to have little breaks for tangential thinking. If you immerse yourself all day long in something, you get too close to it. So once in a while, it's good to pull yourself out and be around a separate group of people. You come back with a fresh perspective. I always have thoughts for my own businesses coming out of other business meetings, or nonprofits. And it's just intellectually interesting. I do think it's very important, and it's always nice to feel like I can add value with my knowledge of the internet space. Wow. Know when to discount feedback. By the way, this didn't show up, but that was a great read. Over-index on execution, aka people, on the idea. The idea is not that valuable. What it is execution. The idea only gives you a few months of extra time. When I think about starting a business, my view is that the idea itself is worth between zero and very little. Most new companies already have competitors when they launch, and if they don't, they soon will. Hiring. Don't be an entrepreneur if you can't hire. You're going out and finding people yourself. If an entrepreneur comes to me and says they can find a person or can convince people to join, I would say, unfortunately, that's a job. If a salesperson can't sell, then you can be successful. If you can't convince people to join you, you shouldn't be doing this because it's very hard. Always be hiring. Your concept isn't worth that much, but if you get a great team, then you will be successful. So that's what I do all day long. I hire. I'm interviewing people all day long and retaining, making sure that our good people stay and are in the right spots. It's about the people. Ideas are easy to get. What's hard is if two people have the same idea, whoever has the best team that moves the fastest and works well together wins. It's about making the right decisions and tough decisions. Make sure hiring is the priority. Kevin has two tests that he uses to decide if hiring is enough of a priority at a company outlined below. Here's a simple test. Ask the CEO if he or she spends more time on recruiting and managing people than on any other activity. For me, the answer has always been yes. He or she spends more time on recruiting and managing people than on any other activity. Hmm. Ask the CEO if he or she spends more time on recruiting and managing people than on any other activity. For me, the answer has always been yes. Here's another test of a company's devotion to its talent. Is your head of HR one of the most important people in the company? I spend as much time with our head of HR as I do with our chief financial officer, and I have never considered having a head of HR report to anybody but the CEO. References are more important than interviews. References matter most. It would be a great experiment to not interview people at all, to hire simply on the basis of the reference check and see what happened. I'm pretty sure that most companies would make better hires if they did that. Below are some questions that Kevin recommends asking during a reference call. Would you hire this person again? If so, why and in what capacity? If not, why not? How would you describe the candidate's ability to innovate, manage, lead, deal with ambiguity, get things done, influence others? What were some of the best things this person accomplished? What could he or she have done better? In what type of culture, environment, and role can you see this person excelling? In what type of role is he or she unlikely to be successful? Would you describe the candidate as a leader, a strategist, an executor, a collaborator, a thinker, or something else? Can you give me some examples to support your description? Do people enjoy working with this candidate? And would former coworkers want to work with him or her again? And what areas does the candidate need to improve? Fire fast. In what follows, Kevin outlines how he would approach telling a low performer they are being fired. You rank 10th out of 10 in performance. You're probably great, but this may not be the right job for you. We may not be the right company for you. I know you don't want to be in a situation where people think you are the lowest performer. Sometimes we can find a position in the company that's a better fit. Inevitably, the employee will question the judgment. I am not really the lowest performer. Then I say, evaluating talent isn't a precise science, but it's very rare that multiple managers think you are 10th out of 10 when you are really number two. Maybe you are number nine, maybe. But the real point is that I want you to be successful, and I don't think this is the right situation or career path for you. B players hire C players. The common assumption is that B players hire C players because they are afraid that hiring people as talented or better than them will reveal their weakness and threaten their position. Kevin challenges this belief. B players hire C players not because they feel threatened by more talented people, but because most people don't want to work for a mediocre boss. Think about it. Have you ever heard someone say, I just got offered a job? The person I will be working for isn't very impressive, but I'm going to take it anyway. That's not something talented people generally do. Good hires finish things. I think too that the hardest quality to find in a new hire is the ability to bring things to closure. Some people don't realize that analysis is useful only if it results in a decision and implementation. Hardest quality to find in a new hire is the ability to bring things to closure. Some people don't realize that analysis is useful only if it results in a decision and implementation. Fundraising. As the opening quote alluded to, if you have a good idea and a great team, the money should follow. However, there are few tactics you can follow to optimize your fundraise. Start raising before you start raising. When I plan to be raising in 6 months, I'm already out there proactively connecting with VCs, having coffees, making as many of them aware of my company as possible. The conversation is safer when I'm not raising money. Hone your pitch with friendlies and poor fits. I like to have one or two meetings with either VCs that might not be the ideal fit, or angels, or other people who can give me commentary on the idea and how I am presenting it. Exude confidence and know your numbers. Kevin recognizes VCs have biases based on things you cannot control when you are to out going to out fundraise. Having gone, okay, so I think that's a problem, that's an error when you're going out to fundraise. Having gone to a particular school, having had a particular job, etc. However, VCs have biases that you can control. There are two you can control: a bias toward founders who know their numbers backward and forward, and bias toward founders who exude confidence in every interaction. With practice, you can make sure you hit the mark on both. It requires a lot of arduous and uncomfortable rehearsal, memorization, and rounds of feedback, but it's well worth it. Here's a micro example. I was in a VC meeting and someone asked, what do you think the commission structure will be next year? The CEO I was working with said, I can't remember the exact number. Let me get back to you. Once in a while, you have to give this answer, but it's a terrible answer. I stepped in and said, between 15 and 20%, but it will get better over time. The VC's schmuck insurance. Never tell them who, but do say that there are other people at the table. It's really simple. Oh, it's simple, really. A competitive round is better because that means more people are interested. People feel like they have smuck insurance when they think other people like the company. At some point in your raise, you might remind firms you're speaking to that you're going to the other coast, San Francisco or New York, depending on where you are, on Monday, a way to signal that you are going to a partner meeting without being obnoxious and bringing it up directly. Everyone will understand what you're saying. That's very interesting. At some point in your race, you might remind firms you're speaking to that you are going to the other coast, San Francisco or New York, depending on where you are, on Monday, a way to signal that you are going to a partner meeting without being obnoxious and bringing it up directly. Everyone will understand what you're saying. Make VCs feel special. VCs are just like everyone else in the world. They want to be wanted. They need to feel like they bring value, and that very smart people realize and appreciate that. When a VC feels this, they feel more invested in you. You want a VC to think, I know there are other people interested, but I have a great relationship with the CEO. I think she really likes me and the firm, and I have a good chance of winning that deal. You want all the VCs you're talking with to feel this level of comfort. I think she really likes me and the firm, and I have a good chance of winning that deal. You need to make it clear you value the services, tools, resources that they bring to the table, and that you have been hearing good things about them in the market. Run an auction, not a race. When I want to raise 5 million or 6 million, I go out and I say I want to raise 3 to 5. I believe in the auction strategy. There's nothing that makes people feel better than when you go back to the VCs in 2 weeks and say, actually, I know I said 3 to 5, but it's really going to be 5 to 6. That means other people are interested. Your goal in this process is singular. Get as many term sheets as you can, not 50, but two, three, four. Some founders may feel guilty of this process of asking for money in an auction, but Kevin reminds founders of the following. What you're doing is giving VCs an opportunity, a chance to be part of a company that's going to change an industry. Being number one compounds. I'm always pushing as hard as possible to be that number one player. You get all the PR, which is self reinforcing. No one writes about number two. People want to work for the leaders, so do vendors and investors. It's about being there and going really aggressively in the beginning. I always end up raising more money than my competitors, spending more, hiring more people, and hiring them faster to make sure that we win. Set firm deadlines. You should do 2 weeks of meetings with VCs and ask for term sheets 4 weeks later. The right time frame between the final meeting and term sheet is typically 3 to 4 weeks. That gives VCs the time they need to get their ducks in a row, but not more. Be clear and specific about your deadline. Give people the exact date when term sheets are due. You need to give VCs enough time, but not too much time. Let's say I told you that you are back in college and there's a paper you can write to win $10,000, but it's due in 6 hours. You're not going to work on it. If I told you it's due in 4 months, you're not going to work on it. If I told you it's due in 5 days, you would say, yeah, I can do that. Hmm. It's the right amount of deadline. Okay, that's interesting. Choosing which VC to work with. What follows is relevant after you have gone through the process of meeting with VCs and have multiple term sheets in hand. For most VCs, with a few exception, you will seldom see anyone other than your point partner. So you are not getting a firm, you're getting a person. You need to feel good about that person. In the situation that you have a firm person that you would prefer to work with, Kevin lays out a rough rule thumb for deciding if you should go with them, even if they don't give you the best terms. Within 5% of the valuation, it doesn't matter. At 10%, I still want to choose the right person. At 30%, I'm not going to go with someone that I like more. That's too much for me to give up. If you're raising your first round of funding, it's always more valuable to have VCs that are local. For your second and third rounds, you can go elsewhere. It's less important. Interesting. Very interesting. Data gushers. Framework for finding the new oil. Like the 1901 spindle top gusher that launched the oil era, we are witnessing the rise of data gushers, untapped streams of information waiting to be sensed and refined into value through advances in AI and sensing technology. A spindle top oil gusher erupted near Beaumont, Texas, propelling oil over 150 feet into the air and approximately 100,000 barrels per day. This marked the dawn of the modern petroleum industry systematic harvesting of latent resource unlocked by the favored intersection of technology, rigs, refineries, pipelines, engines, cars, etc., and speculation. The Spindletop oil gusher launches the gasoline era in 1901. On November 30, 2022, OpenAI unveiled ChatGPT, a conversational AI model trained 570 gigabytes of internet text data that gained over 100 million users within 2 months. This marked the dawn of the modern AI era, a systematic harvesting of a latent resource unlocked by the fewer intersection of technology, data centers, databases, networks, models, interfaces, etc., and speculation. This is actually so interesting because I still remember the time when I first tested ChatGPT. Like oil fields, there are a limited number of big data resources. As the co-founder and former chief scientist of OpenAI, Ilya, recently said in Europe's, we have but one internet. The question is just how limited are our data resources? Will they be the bottleneck for scaling laws? Are there still data gushers out there? Compute is growing, better hardware, better algorithms, larger clusters. Data is not growing. We have but one internet, the fossil fuel of AI. The data is the fossil fuel of AI. It was like created somehow, and now we use it. Through the early 20th century, independent oil prospectors known as wildcatters took massive financial risk in hopes of finding oil in unproven territories without established reserves of hitting their own gusher. Many dead. 1912, Thomas B. Slick Sr. drilled the Vida number one well, which became the discovery well for the prolific Drumright Cushing oil field, producing for the next 35 years. In the 7 years after discovery, good venture investing timeline, the field had produced approximately 2 to 36 million barrels of oil or 5 to 6 billion of revenue in $24. Like the wildcatters, we believe that there are data gushers, information that is currently screaming into the abyss, just waiting to be sensed and parsed, still out there. In fact, we believe AI has created a reflexive environment, see your S on reflexivity, where advancements unlock new data sources which improve AI, which unlocks new data sources ad infinitum. New data sources. In the rest of this essay, we will lay out how to find companies creating and capturing data gushers, which of those companies we think we are best suited to invest in, and what problems remain to be solved to release as many data gushers as possible. Sensor improvements, incremental analytics improvement, breakout AI improvement, incremental sensor improvement. Too close to status quo, low-hanging fruit, magical fruit, data gushers. Companies using data to produce value have always existed in the intersection of improvements in sensor and analytics. However, data gushers emerge when breakthroughs in sensing or analytics open vast new fields of opportunity. For example, by reducing the cost of payload by 20x, SpaceX has driven breakout improvement in satellite-based sensing techniques, unlocking data gushers in industries like mining, fleet space, EDON, Lunasonde. Thanks to generative pre-trained transformers, analytics is going through a period of breakout performance improvement, unlocking a new field of potential data gushers for daring prospectors. Analysis improves along two axes, context and content. What is happening? What does it mean? Hmm, context, better content. What is happening? Better context. What does it mean? Better sensor expand what is capturable at low cost. To invest in opportunities emerging from these improvements requires either extrapolating learning curves, examples camera, resolution versus cost, or predicting the applications of new techniques. Osmo, where Jeffrey Hinton just joined the advisory board, enabling computers to smell. We believe multimodal sensing approaches, vision, hearing, smell, will see significant applications in industrial settings that require high bars of quality control and safety. Tracking body positions in rooms with Wi-Fi. Low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit are companies that capture new data gushers by taking advantage of a single axis of breakout improvement. Sensor XOR analytics. Given the current wave of AI-enabled analytics improvement, we're primarily seeing low-hanging fruit companies deriving new data streams from existing sensing infrastructure. Granola delivering meeting notes relief. The success of these companies is determined by their ability to either develop methods of accessing sensor data, capture virtual meetings without joining a meeting, or simply doing the tedious integration work that others don't want to. Strios is providing real-time mine performance insights via years of building integrations with drone, satellite, and equipment sensing systems. When customers discover these products that quickly plug into existing infrastructure without downtime or disrupting workflows, the overwhelming refrain is one of relief. This was last year 24. Okay. Been using Granola a bit lately. It generates the best meeting notes of anything I've tried so far. Not sure how they did that. Write bare notes. AI enhances them. Very clever AI native UX. Bullish on wheat granola. No more AI note taker needed. The modern factory floor exemplifies a critical data integration challenge that impedes AI adoption in manufacturing. While automated machinery continuously generating vast amounts of sensor data, process logs, and operational metrics, this information remains trapped in isolated silos, stored locally in individual machines or segregated systems. This fragmentation prevents manufacturers from building the comprehensive data sets needed for effective AI implementation, despite factories theoretically generating more than enough data for advanced analytics. Thus, once product market fit is achieved, these companies benefit from pure play growth financing to drive customer acquisition and achieve escape velocity. Magical fruit. Kessler syndrome. There's a known problem in the satellite industry of both man-made and natural space debris destroying satellites. Not only is this a significant problem on a per satellite basis due to their high cost, it has the catastrophic potential that as more satellites enter the orbit, the likelihood of a cascading set of collisions occurring that make space inaccessible, known as Kessler syndrome, increases. Talk about volatility. One way to solve this problem is tracking all the debris so that it can be avoided. Unfortunately, today's visual sensing systems have a data gap in the sub-centimeter diameter spectrum. Space debris, data gap, particle size, altitude, goldstone radars, haystack radar, general delivering realization to the fleet market, gecko, robotics, novel sensing robot for critical infrastructure, whether it's Endural's original Sentry product for persistent autonomous awareness across land, sea, and air, or Gecko robotic solutions for fixed sensors and robots that climb, crawl, swim, and fly to produce data on critical infrastructure analyzed by their cantilever system. These companies are often category defining. Furthermore, because of the level of the novelty of the data they gather and analyze, these companies are uniquely positioned to either operate as or facilitate the underwriting of insurance products. We view this as the fast path to becoming an entrenched incumbent that we are excited to support in our investments to come. As Brad Jacobs might say, we think this is a good way to make a few $1 billion. Brad Jacobs is the author of How to Make a Few $1 billion. A Palantir became worth 175 billion plus overnight. Hmm. Palantir was a good company for a long time. This year, though, the market decided Palantir is a great company. 49.7x. What happened? It became a data gusher overnight as LLMs made the breakout transition from feasible in enterprise government applications to functional. Palantir's integration work was revalued. History may not repeat, but it definitely rhymes. Palantir's playbook parallels Standard Oil's Instead of focusing on the acquisition of undervalued land rights and deploying drilling rigs under John D. Rockefeller's leadership, Standard Oil aggressively see the Cleveland massacre, built an integrated network of pipelines and refineries with standardized processes. As oil emerged as a dominant industrial resource, Standard Oil became dominant. Oil baron versus data baron. Hmm, very interesting way to very interesting way to frame this. Instead of focusing on creating new data sources, deploying industrial sensors, or new systems of record, more than a decade under Alex Karp's leadership, Palantir aggressively sent forward deployed engineers to customer sites using in house tools like Megrite for ingestion, Contour for visualization, and Workshop for web application. These FDEs would do the dirty work of data integration. By being on site, FDEs could navigate organizational dynamics, negotiate access permissions in person, and work through the thorny politics of data sharing that would have been impossible to resolve through remote meetings or formal requirements gathering. As data emerged as the dominant resource for unlocking AI, Palantir broke out as the dominant player by controlling the refinement and utilization of data for government enterprises. Foundry, modern data refinery, now drives over 50% of revenue with 80% gross margins. And just as the discovery of new oil uses massively increased the value of Standard Oil's refinery infrastructure in the early 1900s, the emergence of powerful AI models has dramatically increased the value of Palantir's data infrastructure in 24. Shift from enterprise software company to the controller of many of the most valuable data gushers across enterprise and government. Really cool. Really cool. Edge processing, privacy, capability, reliability gap. Is AI progress slowing down? We believe that these challenges will be solved. The true rate limiter, as always, on capturing the value of data gushers is ambitious entrepreneurs, as Arvind Narayanan, Benedict Strobel, and Sayesh Kapoor stated in their recent piece. Is AI progress slowing down? The connection between capability improvements and AI's social or economic impacts is extremely weak. The bottlenecks for impact are the pace of product development and the rate of adoption, not AI capabilities. Hmm. The bottlenecks for impact are the pace of product development and the rate of adoption, not AI capabilities. If we don't succeed at solving these horizontal challenges or developing new sensors to unlock more data gushers, we will be pushed to develop synthetic data solutions, models that make data for other models to learn from. Funnily enough, this is the path that the oil industry is following. Oil is finite, but companies like Wheeler Atomics are unlocking infinite scale by synthesizing long chain hydrocarbons from water and sequestered carbon using nuclear reactors, while others pursuing adjacent opportunities via hydrogen electrolysis like Terraform Industries, Rivan, and General Galactic. We look forward to an abundant future of carbon neutral hydrocarbons and data. They just randomly inserted Valor Atomics over here. That was cool. That was cool. Okay. Is this not Rivian? The case of synthetic fuels. Okay. Really cool. Wow. All right. That was a good one. I think the framing of Palantir as a data gusher, data baron was really cool. Really cool. And that really explains how suddenly Palantir was valued differently, going from